Next, we come to a particular diagram designed for reading the values of measured dispersion called Possum Whisker diagram. So this diagram is quite simple, but it tells you many important information, including the minimum, Q1, Q2, which is also called the median, Q3, and also the maximum value. So every time when you see this diagram, you expect there are 5 values you're going to consider. Possum Whisker diagram consists of a box with 3 lines in a rectangular form, and then there are 2 tails on 2 sides. So in some books, they like to draw like a T shape to specify the maximum value and minimum value respectively. So the diagram in the notes, you will see the most left-hand side tells you a minimum, followed by lower quartile, median, upper quartile, and at last the maximum value. Hopefully it's quite easy to you. And now you can take a look in example 13 to see whether you can grasp the idea very quickly. Set A, median first, median, same value, right? Okay, set B, where you talk about range, you are talking about maximum value minus the minimum value, maximum value minus minimum value. So you use your common sense to judge which one is greater. Definitely, range of A is greater than range of B. Similarly, when we talk about Iqr Interquartile Range, is talking about Q3 minus Q1, Q3 minus Q1, and then so the larger one tells you the larger value of Iqr. So that's why it's also Iqr of A greater than Iqr of B. Part B, I will leave it for you. Next, we'll read 2 examples to see how the question of Possum Whisker diagram may ask you. In example 14, it tells you like it's talking about the birth weight of 500 babies in a hospital, and then so it's asking you about range and interquartile range in part A. Hopefully it's very easy. Let's take a look. Range is talking about the maximum value minus the minimum value, so that's why it's 4.5 minus 1.5 is 3, and don't forget the units kg. While for missing. While for interquartile range, it is equal to 4 Q3, 2.5 Q1. That's why it's 4 minus 2.5 gives you 1.5 kg. Very easy, right? Coming up next, part B is testing you the concept of Q1, Q2, Q3. Let's take a look. It's talking about below 3.5 kg, you want to find the number. And then there are a lot of question marks in your mind, right? Because if you remember, I said Possum Whisker diagram only tells you 5 values. They are minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, and also maximum. But what do we mean by below 3.5 kg and finding the number of babies? Indeed, it's talking about the percentage, because when you read carefully about the 3.5 kg, and you will see is here, which stands for the median. When you're talking about below, that means it's less than, so on this side. And then because it's about median, that means half of the number of babies will be below 3.5 kg. That's why, I will repeat, this is called Q2, which is standing for 50% of the babies are lower than this one. So when you're talking about below 3.5 kg, that means there are 50% out of 500 babies, which means there are 250 babies over there. Is it alright to you? So that means next time when you're talking about finding the number, not talking about like maximum, minimum, etc. When you talk about number, so you have to note what do we mean? What are the values they're talking about, or what the value 3.5 kg, 4 kg stand for in the question? Okay, let's check B2 as another demonstration. 4 kg. Okay, 4 kg. 4 kg is here. Q3. Q3 stands for 75% of the babies are lower than this weight. So that's why below 4 kg means that there are 75% of the babies out of 500, they are below 4 kg. That's why you have 375 babies over there. Not that very difficult, right? Next, we can put two box and whisker diagram together as a comparison. In example 15, you can see it's talking about, oh, Peter and Tim are working at the same watch store. So it shows you the monthly salaries in the past 12 months. You don't know in January how much they earn, in February how much they earn, etc. But you only know that roughly in the diagram you will see Peter at least earn it is called $150,000 in 1 month. Highest value would be 550,000 in a certain month. So in Tim's box and whisker diagram, you can do a similar thing. And now, so first of all, in part A is talking about who has the highest sales on the whole. On the whole, what does that mean? Can you make a guess? On the whole, you can use another word called generally in the question. We are not comparing what is their sale in every month, but we want to know, generally speaking, which man can have a larger sale, so can do better in the watch store. And you will see that in Peter's box and whisker diagram is almost on the right, lying on the right of Tim's one. As well as you can see, when you compare minimum value, Peter's on the right, maximum value, Peter's on the right, also as other figures. So that's why I can use a very simple word to represent it. I would say the box and whisker diagram of Peter lies on the right, because we are talking about general picture only. Okay, lies on the right will be the keyword. Lies on the right of debts of Tim. So in general, I would say Peter has higher sales on the whole. Next, part B will be talking about more consistently. Consistent is more stable, more stable, and then so in this word you can understand it is called less dispersed. So when you talk about less dispersed, you can see I have two choices. I may compare the range, I may compare the IQR. So if I have both choices, then normally I would choose IQR, because I try not to pick range, because maximum minimum value sometimes they're extreme value. So that's why I will start from interquartile range in this question, and then part B, okay, to compare their IQR. So that's why IQR of Peter, then you do the reading very carefully. Okay, Q3, 500,000. Q1, 250,000. So that's why I give you $250,000. And then while for IQR of Tim, Q3, 400,000. Q1 100,000, so gives you 300,000. So now you can do a simple comparison of the mantle in which Tim's sales is greater than Peter's scale. So that means Tim's in generally, so the sales is more dispersed. So on the contrary, then we will say Peter is more consistent, more stable, in other words. The last one will be the hardest one because it's talking about how you explain the answer, yes or no anyway, and then with the support of numbers, figures, values, etc. Now Peter claims that there are 3 months in which his sales is at least 500,000, and then so that's why I will check what does that mean by 500,000 first. 500,000 to Peter is stand for the Q3, which means 75% of the data will be on the left hand side. So that's why in this word, and then you can say Q3 will be 500,000. So that's why among 1 year, 12 months, 75% of the month, that means 9 months, he will be earning less, his sales will be lower than $500,000. So in other words, that means there are 3 months in which his sales is at least 500,000. So that's why I will agree with it. And I'll take a minute to write down the conclusion. There are 3 months in which his sales is at least $500,000. And so don't forget to say your conclusion or you agree with it.